else we got? We got this. The horror film So Real that the FBI investigated it. Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 So we're gonna check this one out. I'm a big fan of horror films. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. But you were a big film channel, but what's the price to you? Wait. Yes. Let me subscribe, man. From all the way to 20K. Hey, good for him. Good for him. Okay, I'm gonna subscribe. But yeah, let's check this out. Yeah, so I love my horror films. I love them. I love them. Big time horror film fan. If I had to pick one horror film, well, I'm gonna say series, the Evil Dead series. Oh, I'm a sucker for those, man. I don't know if y'all can see. I don't know if y'all can see that, but right here, wait, I got Ash right there. Another Ash right here. A Funko Pop of Ash right there. Bro, I love him, man. Love him. But yeah, we're gonna check it out. We're gonna check it out. And maybe if it's really good, I'll probably look at the movie as well.
I was obsessed with tracking down weird videos. Just weird videos and weird films we had seen. And one of the films that came to me was a movie called Guinea Pig. And I promptly made a copy of it. And the FBI said, you need to hand over the original tape.
That is Chris Gore, and the tape he's talking about contained a copy of a Japanese horror film from 1985. Back then, as the founder of the infamous Film Thread magazine, he was always on the lookout for the most obscure movies he could possibly find. And the way to do that was to tap into the somewhat underground world of VHS tape trading.
We were trading tapes with so many people, and then the thing was they would send me their weird tapes. That's how we did all of this.
What?
Those tapes would often contain unauthorized copies of movies from all around the world that were either...
Chat, I think it took the trade a little too, you know... We started doing trading in the history for some good reasons, you know, so we can get our hands on something from China. We trade with them, but now we're trading VHS? Really? Damn. History.
Extremely difficult to find or straight up banned in some countries. The kind of stuff you couldn't just find in your local Blockbuster. And while the majority of the movies were just strange or bizarre, one of them felt different. There was no music, no more than a basic title graphic, and not even the standard practice of opening credits. It almost felt like someone's private home video of a man observing strangers in front of a train station in Tokyo until he eventually sees a young lady.
It already looked creepy.
To stalk her, slowly driving his car behind her, and as soon as they get far away from the busy streets of the city, he chases her down and abducts her. The rest of the movie takes place in some creepy makeshift slaughterhouse, and since I cannot possibly show you what happens next, instead, I'll give you some context with,
let's see how bad it gets.
Dramatic reenactment.
Really?
Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah. All of that happens, and it is shown in great detail with very intricate...
Dude, this is like Terrifier before Terrifier, man. What though? That's... I'm gonna get... If I watch it, I'll get sick. Oh, dude.
Right in your face. The point is, it looked real, so much so that people weren't entirely sure if it was actually fiction or something far more sinister. And one of those people was no other than the actor Charlie Sheen.
Charlie
There
Sheen?
Are a few different accounts of...
Of course. It's Charlie, man. Damn, what the fuck? And it's a Japanese horror film?
Exactly how it happened, but what we know for a fact is that Charlie Sheen saw this movie, and because of him, the FBI got involved.
Oh, he saw it.
What happened was they took it very seriously. I had all these videos confiscated. I had to be interviewed by the FBI about the this video and where I obtained it. The guy who gave me the video got investigated, and it was
Jesus.
weird. All I did was just make a copy of a tape and give it to Charlie Sheen.
They weren't the only ones either. Around the same time, a lawyer in Sweden had found that exact same movie and had also reported it to the police. And over in Britain, a man entering the country with a copy of it had gotten arrested and taken to court because of its possession. Clearly, everyone took this extremely seriously. And looking back at it now, you might think it's a little bit silly, right? I mean, supposedly it's just a movie. But the thing is that those concerns were not entirely unwarranted. In his 1971 book about Charles Manson, author Ed Sanders included an interview with a member of his cult who claimed that they had once videotaped a murder they've committed. It is one of the first uses of the term snuff film, or basically a movie which shows real violence. And while no such video involving Charles Manson had ever been found, the urban legends began to spread. With consumer cameras becoming more widely available back in the 70s, people began to speculate that the possibility of someone capturing the real stuff was constantly increasing. And in 1976, after reading an article about it, a marketing-savvy film producer took advantage. He filmed a completely new ending to an unreleased, low-budget movie he had the rights to, and in order to promote it, he hired fake protesters to demonstrate against it in theaters, and even reported it to the police himself. As soon as they saw it, people could easily tell it wasn't real. But it did make a profit, and more importantly, it brought the idea of snuff into the mainstream. Now, that one was clearly a hoax, but many of the other films that followed continued to push the limits and blur the lines. In 1978,
I've seen some snuff films.
Faces of Death had
I've seen some snuff films, and there's some films that I forgot what it was, but like they go to this tribe, and this tribe kidnaps this girl, and they do so many things to her. Which for me, I'm like, okay, it's just a movie though. How are they faking this? Mind you, there's no CGI or whatever, so I'm like, how are they faking this? This looks too real. So now, like, it makes me sick, It does make me sick. So I don't know, it's weird that there's so many people that are willing to do that.
Featured a bunch of different ways to die. And while the majority of those were achieved with practical effects and makeup, there were some real ones too, that the filmmakers had taken from news archives and old war footage. Although it got banned in a number of countries and heavily censored, it grossed over $35 million, and in some cases, it showed people real death on the big screen.
The end of the beginning, or the beginning of the end?
That's so stupid.
I'll leave that decision to you.
Real gore and extreme graphic images were
That's so
becoming a
stupid.
big debate in society, but the ethics of it were not necessarily the main concern for the authorities. For them, it was crucial to know about how that footage was obtained, because going back to Guinea Pig, the movie that Charlie Sheen had reported, it didn't just show a natural disaster or unfortunate accident, but a very premeditated and vicious crime.
Charlie was so shocked upon watching this film. He was so taken aback, he thought he had witnessed an actual murder.
By the time the
I'd
FBI
be
got
fucked too.
involved, they quickly
If I was given a tape, like, hey bro, you used to watch this movie, and I watch it, I'm like, bro, I might snitch. Yeah, I'm a snitch. Like, bro, I can't sleep. It's been 3 days. I can't sleep. I gotta tell somebody. Or like give it to somebody else. Chat, where's my cat? Matilda! Oh, never mind. Chat, look at this. You guys are here? She's right here. She's right here. I don't know if you can see that. She's like blended in so well. Damn. Alright. Okay, let's go.
found out that the authorities in Japan had also investigated, because a few years after its release, it got connected to a murder case that had completely shaken the country. In the late 80s, a 27-year-old man had taken the lives of 4 young girls in Tokyo in a way that I don't even want to describe. The police had found almost 6,000 videotapes in his room, and among the many slasher and snuff films
Wow.
was Guinea Pig.
Wait.
even want to describe. The police had found almost 6,000 videotapes in his
6,000?
room,
This guy
and
is
among
sick.
the many slasher and snuff films was Guinea Pig. Because of how brutal his crimes were, there was a huge public outrage, and many blamed this kind of movies for encouraging.
Not gonna lie, if he did that, well, not if, like, since he did that and he did have a lot of videotapes, you know damn well that encouraged him. That encouraged him so much.
Firing him, and as a result, the movie was taken off the shelves. So, with all the controversy surrounding it and multiple investigations from all around the world, the main question remains: was it snuff or fiction?
All this hellish, unhealthy, violent activity, our kids are seeing this and thinking it's normal.
To find the answer, we need to go back to 1985. Around
Bruh.
that time in Japan, the straight-to-video market had experienced a rapid growth. As a result of the increased popularity of VHS tapes that people could just play directly, smaller filmmakers were able to produce low-budget movies with almost no censorship and significantly less restrictions compared
Yeah.
to theatrical releases.
Yep.
That allowed directors to push the boundaries a lot, and considering that horror as a genre was already huge in Japan, they certainly did. So, inspired by all this, a young producer would set on to create something that would push the envelope even further. And just like that, the Guinea Pig series was born. Push the envelope.
He created it. He looks so sweet. I mean, sometimes he does. He kind of doesn't look sweet, but at the same time, he does. It's like Junji Ito. I don't know if you know Junji Ito. He created Uzumaki and like so many other horror films. I mean, not horror films, but like horror comics. Not comics, manga. God damn it, horror manga. And he's pretty good. He looks so sweet though. He's a sweet guy, but he draws and writes some creepy, horrific shit, man. Peak though. It's peak.
Even further. And just like that, the Guinea Pig series was born. The first one, Devil's Experiment, he directed himself, and a text in the beginning claimed that it is a real found footage. There were no credits, no title, and nothing that would break the illusion. All that was shown was basically someone being tortured for 40 minutes straight, and the whole shtick about it being authentic worked. The movie did really well on the VHS rental market, so naturally, it was time for part 2, the one that Charlie Sheen had seen, Flower
What?
of Flesh and Blood. For this one, however, he got the help of the prominent manga artist Hideshi Hino. Sometimes referred to as the king of horror manga, Hideshi Hino had built a reputation for his deeply unsettling, grotesque, and borderline
Jesus
terrifying
Christ! I was just talking about Junji Ito.
movie as a director, an entirely new creative medium to him that he wanted to bring a certain level of artistry to. He wanted to elevate it, so instead of it just being straight up gore, he incorporated a tiny bit of narrative. Something that might have gotten lost in translation because in the very beginning, he lays out the premise that a crazy fan of his horror manga had gotten inspired from it and committed this heinous crime, and had sent him a package with photos, videos, and a letter describing it in great detail. But
What?
it was so graphic that he couldn't show it to us, so instead, what we're seeing is his own artistic interpretation. You can feel that there's a style in some of the editing, the colors, the cinematography, and even down to the over-the-top sound effects.
They're so.
後でなんか見た人がだから
There are so many evil people, man. Like some sick people, dude. Like it's. That's so creepy.
ただそれだけじゃないそれから先のね何かをこうイマジネーションしてくれれば面白いんじゃないかなと思うんですけどね。
As opposed to everyone else, Hideshi Hino had never claimed that what was shown was real, but he had done such a good job at making it look convincing that to some people, it was. A year later, the filmmakers released some behind-the-scenes footage and showed exactly how it was done. They've experimented with different techniques, materials, wire work, practical effects, and have created over 50 different body parts until they got it just right. It is genuinely a really good showcase of practical effects if you're
Practical effects will always be CGI.
into that kind of stuff, of course. The backlash surrounding it, though, had permanent consequences. In a 2009 interview with Vice, Hideshi Hino shared that because of everything that had happened, the production of his first feature film got cancelled and it also affected his work as an artist. After talking to the police, he also claimed that what they had found in the serial killer's collection was not his, but a later installment in the Guinea Pig series. In the same interview with Vice, Hideshi Hino recalls a time in which a journalist asked a film critic if this sort of video is really necessary in the world.
Nope.
To which he replied, no, absolutely not. And
Yeah,
it got me
okay.
thinking. As I was researching the story, I kept asking myself, what is it exactly that draws us into this kind of extreme horror? On one hand, you have people who are very much against it because they argue that
I mean,
it could give
as a horror guy, hey. I mean, gore, hey, some gore would be so fucking cool. Evil Dead, it has one of the greatest gores. Even like basic gore, like Scream, when he's just, using his kitchen knife to, like, that's cool. Texas Chainsaw, amazing. Terrifier, top notch. But there's only one reason I hate Terrifier, and that's storytelling. I need a horror movie with a good story. Terrifier sucked at it. I don't care. Get mad in the comments, I don't care. Terrifier was the worst horror film that I have seen in a while. I hated it. I need storytelling. I need story. So yeah, that's what makes a horror film so good, so good. You don't even need jump scares, dude. You don't, but it'll work.
us the wrong ideas. And
For example, Insidious, perfect. Insidious 2, better. No, so Insidious 3 was better. Then Insidious the Red Door, or whatever it's called, ass. The story was ass, everything was ass. Ass. Just ass.
there's some cases that support that claim. Remember Faces of Death, the pseudo-documentary that showed people dying? Well, in 1986, a 14-year-old boy killed his classmate and claimed that he got the idea for it precisely because he saw that movie. Whether that is an isolated case or a real issue, I'm not smart enough to say. I'm sure someone will have a better answer than me.
We don't know the extent to which exposure to this kind of material results in actual violent behavior. What we do know is that exposure to this kind of material results in a more calloused person, a less sensitive person.
And on the other hand, people can argue that it's morbid curiosity.
They know it's entertainment. They know it's special effects. They get together. They have little parties. They watch these movies. They have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't think they're really seeing the undercurrents that a lot of paranoid parents are seeing. If the world be a better place because there weren't horror films, there weren't explicit stalk and slash films, and the world would be at peace, well then burn all the negatives of every horror film ever made, if that's going to be kind of a guarantee, but it isn't.
It is us facing our
Yeah.
own mortality. And to bring it full circle, here's a quote from Film Threat, the magazine from the beginning that sort of started this whole story, which says that it somehow makes us feel alive. We like feeling alive, and we like to feel like we're cheating death by watching movies like that.
Oh no. Oh. No. Okay. But yeah, that was pretty good. That's scary though. That's actually pretty scary. I might have to go watch it though. Cause I'm curious. I'm actually curious. So knowing me, I'm gonna watch it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of movies that are just so bad. Those snuff films and other type of films that are kind of the same thing as well. Like, what are the directors thinking? I'd be surprised even to this day if there's people still making snuff films. I'd be really surprised. Like, bro, just make a horror film. Just go basic horror. Please. I don't know. That was weird. Yeah, great video from that guy, dude. Great video. He really deserved all of those flaws.